our freedom fighter, sister, and comrade, Miss Maxine Waters, is under attack. My father, I must say, is a man amongst men. Reverend Martin Luther King says it's not where we stand in times of comfort and convenience, but where we stand in times of challenge. There's a group of conservative, they call themselves conservative black elected officials. I don't like to use the word coon. I think that is undignified. I don't like to use the word of a fool. It may not be necessary. But any of those words that you find appropriate, you can place them on those men that want to attack a woman that's a freedom fighter. Every black woman that sticks her head up, that tries to fight, white men can always find another Negro to try to attack her. When a district attorney in California says this black woman, this ghetto woman is what he called her, said she should be shot, and the President of the United States says nothing, her colleagues stand away from her. I am proud to say I know a man that I call my father that thought it was the highest and best use of his time to stand by his sister and his friend, the Honorable Maxine Waters. Thank you, Dad. And let us serve notice to the leadership in the Democratic Party, current, future, past, and wannabe presidents. Show your face or forever be gone. Time to make a stand. They're not going to take us off one at a time. On one other note, before I get to my remarks, President Donald J. Trump ought to feel good today. He finally, since he has, I've never seen a man complain and whine so much in my life. If you're out this evening and you see me on a bar, I'll tell you the exact words I would want to use on what kind of man that is. And it rhymes with witches. Just crying and complaining. President Obama is gone. He's finished. He served his time honorably. He is off of the scene. President Trump, it's time to man up. You are in control. What is it that you want to do? But President Trump should feel good today. He has finally, in the city of London, drew a bigger crowd than President Barack Obama. And they want him to get out of their country as fast as he can. So yes, you did draw a bigger crowd, finally, Mr. Donald J. Trump. And we wish him well as he goes to see his partner and spiritual brother, Mr. Vladimir Putin. Moving right along, yesterday was a day of deep reflection for me. One more thing I have to thank. I have to thank the incredible sorority of Alpha Kappa Alpha. I was in Houston this past week with my father at their 68th Boule. Any AKAs in the house, please stand. AKAs, please stand. We thank you so much. Give them a loving round of applause. And I want to say thank you to all the sororities. There are many great, the Delta Sigma Thetas, the Delta Beta, and the Alpha Kappa Alpha. Bless them all. But the Alphas this week at their 68th Boule, not only are they going into the Guinness Book of World Records for having a dinner with 18,000 plates served, they had attendance of over 19,412 people paid attendance on their 68th Boule, where our friend Dr. Glover, Glenda Glover, who is now the president of Tennessee State University, has become the Grand Basileus. They honored my father, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, with the Eleanor Roosevelt Award, and we thank you from the depth of our hearts, AKAs. On yesterday, I was reflecting upon my grandmother, Gertrude Brown. She died last year this time. And for those of you that have not had the God-given privilege and pleasure of knowing your parents and your grandparents, and I had a chance to know my great-grandmother, and to be 52 years of age and to have known your grandmother all of your life, it doesn't make it easier when they pass. There's a bigger hole that has to be filled. And I couldn't help but think about when my grandmother told me that Eleanor Roosevelt would come down to their small town that was known as the Muck, where she was a migrant worker and an orphan child, and would see Miss Bethune-Cookman, and they would make her put on extra Vaseline so the Negro babies would have shiny faces. And Miss Eleanor Roosevelt would say, "Good morning, poor little Negro boys and girls." And to think that my grandmother at the age of 55 went back to get her GED, then went on to Hampton University. And my grandmother, my brother and I, we all graduated from college together in 1988. Then she went on to get her master's degree. And I said, "Grandma, why are you still in school?" She says, "I had life circumstances that prevented me from going to school, but I never wanted to be ignorant. I always wanted an education." And so it wasn't until my children went to school and I was able to continue to working full-time at the VA hospital in the kitchen, I could go on and get back to school. Oh, where are the Gertrude Browns of today? The orphan children that still are fighting, still holding on to God's never unflinching love and grace. Now, my grandmother Gertrude, she couldn't quote the Bible. She believed in God and believed in a spirit, but she wasn't a very religious person, very spiritual, but very hardworking. And as I see suicide rising amongst our children, brothers and sisters and our children, hold on. It's bigger than you. Now, for my remarks today, I want to talk about a spiritual journey that we just saw. A spiritual journey. My heart, like yours, was made glad. And I thank God for having given me a renewed sense and hope in humanity. I was able to reconnect with the spiritual side this past week on the other side of the world with the children of Thailand. The children of Thailand, 12 boys, ages 11 to 16, whose coach was 25 years of age. Their name is also called the Wild Boars. They're little children, 11 to 16. Some people in our culture were saying, "Why did the boys go into the cave? What was wrong with that teacher and that adult that took them into the cave?" Brothers and sisters, I don't want to fix the blame. I want to fix the problem, Reverend Dr. Finney. Reverend Dr. Finney is a tremendous organizer, not a blame fixer. He's a man that puts his hands in the mud. He'll have dirty hands, but a clean heart. A man that's willing to take a risk. When he told you he stood with my father in 1988, others were laughing at Reverend Jesse Jackson. You're a preacher. You're from South Carolina. You're not an elected official. Who would vote for you? Why would you go into Iowa? Why would you go into Maine? These are two of the whitest states in the United States. But he knew the power of God's word. And some things you have to go out on faith. And the reception we received in Iowa, he came in above then Senator Al Gore amongst all white electorate. We know Obama is there today. But like the country man said, if you see a turtle on a fence post, you know one thing for sure: it did not get there by itself. Seeds were planted, and we thank you, Reverend Dr. Leon Finney. We thank you, Dr. Conrad Worrell. people have planted seed and laid tracks that we now are on. The children of Thailand. The British divers went in there after 10 days and saw the children. And the video that astonished the world is that the children were meditating. You all might have missed that. 12 boys, 11 to 16, were meditating, while people I knew were saying, what was wrong with that coach? They were castigating him. They were disparaging him, not knowing that accidents and mistakes can happen. To answer the first part, how did they get into the cave? Well, the terrain of northern Thailand is filled with caves. After the boys got through playing soccer, they wanted to go, as they commonly do, into caves. But this time, being the young men and the testosterone that's growing, they wanted to go a little further into the cave so that they could put their name on the wall where other boys had not gone before. They're children. Some men want to get to the bottom of the ocean. Some men want to get to the moon. Other men want to get to Mars. They have a spirit of adventurism, and that's good. But lo and behold, the winds changed, and the waters came in, and a flood came by. So the children with the coach had to go further into the cave because they could not turn around. They were unprepared. But here's the power of prayer and meditation, ladies and gentlemen. The coach, Chacha Wong, 25 years of age, he's an orphan child. He's not even a citizen of Thailand. Does that sound familiar? He doesn't have papers. He's not a Thai citizen. There's a group of people in the northern hills of Thailand that are on the border of Laos and Myanmar and China that have no citizenship. What is his goal in life? He wants to be citizen of a country that he can call his own. He went into the monastery at the age of 13, an orphan child. He learned to pray, to have a deeper spiritual connection, to be able to have a calm about himself. He loves sports. He loves children. He's no longer a monk. He started teaching soccer and coach. Did you see the reaction of the parents? I cannot believe what I saw. It renewed my hope in mankind and what we all can be. The parents never disparaged the coach. The community never talked about the coach. They did not seek to fix the blame. When they found out the children were alive, they put all speed, all alacrity, all the resources they had into going after the children. I don't want to digress and think if that happened in America with a black basketball coach and 12 boys, but since you've asked, I will. When the waters came up for Katrina, all they had to do was move the population of New Orleans further north into the highlands so that the people could be safe. The politicians said no, they're going to invade white neighborhoods with the Negroes. Black people tried to get over the bridge. They were met with guns and told to turn around. After 3 days of no food and the food is spoiling in stores, people went in there to get some food to eat. If they were white, they were told that they were survivors. If they were black, they were told that they're looters. America has a race problem. I don't want to fix the blame, I want to fix the problem. Part of the problem is not enough people speak up and speak out. Thank you, Dad, for standing with Maxine Waters. The children of Thailand, when the British scuba divers found them 10 days later, they were praying. They were in meditation. Why is it so important to pray and meditate? If you're angry and agitated and hateful, your children are going to be angry, agitated, and hateful. When you have a Chicago public school system where when you find out there's abuse and neglect of children, and when the CEO doesn't speak out and speak up, you send a cold chill throughout the whole system that this is a cover your behind system as opposed to clean it up, clean it out, and make it pure. When you get a police officer to pull a gun on a 3-year-old child and the city has to pay $2.5 million, our children don't need settlement money. The victims of crime by the institution of government don't need settlement money. They don't need to be pardoned by the President of the United States. Our city should be enough and high enough morally when we offer an apology so we can heal the heart and not fill the pockets. Brothers and sisters, prostitution is not gender specific. You don't have to have on a short skirt and high heels to be a prostitute. You can have on a 3-piece pinstripe suit or a judge's robe and be a prostitute. Prostitution simply means taking money for something you deem unworthy. That's the true definition of prostitution. We have an obligation to speak up. Tell the truth. Our children of Thailand, an orphan child who's now 25 years of age, who was 13, lost his parents, had to take care of his grandparents, doesn't have a state to call his own, volunteering, coaching the children. What I love to see about that environment and where I want this to go as a remedy to fix the problem, there is so much trust, so much love for the authorities in that society that the children never had fear. The children grew up without fear. What does that mean? Being in a dark place, in a cave, for 10 days. Now, you know, if that were adults, one of us would have had to take one of us out. I want to be very clear. 12 adults in the dark for 10 days, somebody isn't going to meditate. And somebody won't shut up. And somebody will constantly remind us, we're doomed. We're never gonna make it. You got me in here. I'm gonna kill you. 12 children who cannot swim, who have limited food supply. They weren't planning on staying there a day. The food was scarce. The oxygen was lowering. The rain was rising. Time stands still in the dark. And they had a faith. Where's our faith, ladies and gentlemen? They had a faith to hold on. Then they had to do something even more miraculous. They had to put on oxygen masks and go 5 hours swimming over a mile to get back up, to come back out. Brothers and sisters, if some of you get your hair wet today, you're gonna have a panic attack. Let alone to put an oxygen mask on you and to tell you you're gonna be submerged for the next few hours. And you're gonna have to trust the scuba diver where you have zero visibility in the mud and in the murk. You're gonna have to trust the oxygen supply. You're gonna have to trust the rope. And by the way, a highly trained Thai scuba diver has already died trying to come down here to get you. Some people would have panicked. Our culture needs that level of civilization. We can learn something from the children of Thailand. And I want to thank God this day as I look back on the life of my grandmother Gertrude. Grandmother, I see you in heaven, and I want to thank God for your example to our family. You see Jesse Jackson and Miss Jackson on where we are today, but you don't know the orphan grandparents that we've had. You don't know the stepchildren's steps and the halves and the fractions that make our family all together a whole because of you. We're a broken group of people that tried to claim to do something bigger and better than ourselves. And I thank God for each of you. I thank God for my father being a man amongst men and standing with the Honorable Maxine Waters today. Thank you, thank you.